Welcome to Yeukai Business Show, UK's premier business show where we feature business thought leaders, high achievers, and industry experts. Today's episode is brought to you by World Outsourcing Solutions Limited, a company that specializes in helping executive business owners with virtual assistant services and business growth systems. Here's your host, Yeukai Kajidori.
Hello, and welcome back to another very special episode here on the show. Listen, man, if you missed the last one that we did 2 weeks ago where we were talking about business growth, you want to go back and check it out. If you have, tell us your discovery during that podcast, which we recorded 2 weeks ago. And you know what we're talking about, the one about a podcast and business growth. Well, today is a very special day because Chris Molenaar has joined us for the very first time. And you guys are in for a treat because Chris is truly an outstanding man. You wait until you hear what he's done over the years, and you will find out that you are truly in the presence of greatness. Chris, thank you so much for joining us here on the show today.
You bet. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
You know, Chris, you have a very special saying about millionaires in the real estate industry. Share with my audience today what you've discovered.
Yeah, it's interesting because it has been said that over 80% of millionaires amassed their fortunes in real estate. But now, because inflation is at an all-time high, I'm going to share with you today on this podcast some alternate ways to develop passive income in real estate. So stick around right till the end. I've got some unique ways at approaching this business.
Amazing, absolutely amazing. I think it's staggering. A lot of people discovering, how to create wealth for themselves. Many of them have made it in real estate. So we can't wait to hear more about that. But today, we're going to talk about events, because one of the things you've discovered, Chris, is how events can catapult any business into where they have got continuous supply of new leads, new business opportunities, and new partnership. Talk to us very briefly how you got into events.
Yes, I'm glad you actually brought that up, because we were talking a little about that before this podcast about how the pandemic has had a huge effect on our ability to host events. But I always realized that is one of, if not the most important to helping grow a successful organization, because as we all know, it's all about relationships. And as much as we have a lot of really cool, unique ways to get in touch with people and communicate with people online, the old-fashioned way of doing things belly to belly is always the most powerful way to do things. That's the reason why in-person seminars are so powerful. And now, because of the pandemic, we've had to alternate and alter our approach to doing events. But if we could get 15 people in a room or 5 people in an in-person mastermind session, I think that is very, very powerful still. So when I started developing and promoting the brand at EXP in real estate here, it was right at the beginning of the pandemic, essentially. And, I was a solo agent selling houses by myself at that time. But because of my ability to start hosting events locally, and then as well starting to travel to host events across Canada, that's essentially what's helped me grow and scale my business from the point where it was just me to the point where I'm now working with close to 100 agents, across the country and internationally now as well. And it's not just me anymore. I've got several leaders in my group that are also hosting events, in many different locations across the country. And I find that it's a lot more fun as well when you can get in person, shake hands, get to know people a little bit better. And it's not so much about quantity, it's about the quality of the conversations you have. But we've got 8 agents in our group that are hosting events anywhere from, 15 up to 50 people that are coming out, up to 300 people that are coming out to some of these events. So it's been a lot of fun, and there's a lot of different ways to approach events in that sense too.
Yes. One of the things I like about what you're sharing it is because you know it firsthand. I want to focus perhaps about your beginnings in business, in fact, in life, because you and I were talking earlier on that your background was not one where you perhaps could you were given everything. You had to work towards that. And events perhaps later on in life catapulted you to where you are right now. Do you mind sharing with people what life was like when you got started and to when you actually started using events to bring your business to where it is today?
Yes, 100%. So I grew up in a family of 5 kids. I'm the middle child. I have, two older brothers, one younger brother, and I have a twin sister. And I jokingly say that I'm the runt of the family. I'm 6'2", 200 pounds, and I'm the smallest one. But that sort of forced me to, learn things from a unique perspective. My mom has been on social assistance from the day that my parents got divorced. I was 5 years old. And my dad had sole custody of all 5 of us and struggled his way through to support us in a heroic way. He did. But because of the fact that he was spread so thin, there was a lot of lessons that I had to learn as a young adult, which turned out to be a blessing and a curse. Now, my dad is a millwright, and all of the rest of my siblings are also in the trades as well. I was the black sheep of the family. I had no interest in learning how to use tools, but nonetheless, I was still the first to get into the workforce and get my journeyman ticket in sheet metal, of all things. I used to change furnaces for a living. I used to climb in attics. I used to climb on 2-story roofs in minus 40 degrees Celsius here in Canada. I used to haul big, heavy furnaces out of basements, essentially for a living, very hard physical labor. And it wasn't until I broke both of my Achilles tendons that I decided maybe it's not such a good idea to climb ladders for a living in minus 40. So I found a girl who is now my wife, and I was selling her on the dream because I was this young kid who was essentially a labor worker, and she had her life together. She had 2 degrees, and she owned a real estate already. And I said, oh man, I can be whatever I want to be. And then she basically called my bluff and said, well, then why don't you do it? And so she took me into the bookstore, and she basically said, we're not leaving until you buy a business book that's going to help you accomplish what it is that you said that you're capable of achieving. And that was the beginning of my personal development journey. I've been reading pretty much a book a week ever since then, although sometimes I pick one book and read it several times over and over. From that point forward, I decided to get my real estate license. And like I said, because I grew up in a trades family, it wasn't really natural for me to dress professionally. I didn't own a single collared shirt. I had a pair of coveralls that were ripped to shreds because I was too cheap to buy new ones. And I was paying my own way. So I didn't have a whole lot of additional capital. I had to scrape together every single additional penny that I had just to buy my real estate textbooks. I got into the business and I was so shy. I didn't really know how to talk to people. I had no sales experience. And I had a very limited small network of people that I knew here in Saskatoon when I started in real estate. So I ended up taking a Dale Carnegie public speaking course, which cost me $3,000 that I didn't have. And I didn't sell a house for the first 6 months. It wasn't until I think my 7th month, I sold my first house. And then I sold, I think, 15 houses the following 3 months. And I made more money in those 3 months than I did the previous entire year at my other job. So my wife and I celebrated. We went overseas and traveled Europe for a month and paid off all of my debts. But I remember that feeling when I was buried in debt with zero income, not knowing what I was doing, and finally hit that breakthrough. And throughout my real estate career, this is my 10th year now. So I've become a top producer, but I did reach a ceiling in my business. I found that there's only so much that I can do by myself. So I decided to hire a full-time staff person, but I also wanted to grow and scale my business, and doing it the traditional way didn't seem to be very attractive to me because the franchise style business model in real estate basically says that you have to leverage hundreds of thousands of dollars in debt and take on tens of thousands of dollars per month in overhead to start a new franchise in a new market. And then you're also limited to your local geography. And I knew that building a business online made more sense for me. And but I wanted to do it with the old school fundamentals approach, because I had to learn on my own sales training. I had to learn personal development, as I'd mentioned. I had to learn my own financial education. I had to learn the fundamentals of real estate. And that's what I teach now. So I transitioned from a local franchise to an independently owned company, and then eventually to EXP Realty, which is a technology-based real estate company. And it's been a total game changer and life changer for myself and my family. And it's been a lot of fun along the way. So today there's almost 100 of us in my organization, like I'd said, and having more fun today than I ever have in this business. And I'm helping agents on all across the board, whether they're brand new or they're experienced or they're already doing really big, great things. We're helping them reach a new level in this business, and just super excited to share my story, because I think a lot of people can relate to
Indeed.
different paths.
I don't want to pass the opportunity to say thanks to the lady that sort of helped you into getting into what you truly love. And I think it takes another human being to encourage us to go after our dreams. And I always say to people listening, including myself, is, you know what, sometimes motivation comes from without. Look at those who are around. Maybe a special somebody, maybe a business owner, a business partner, or even those places you interact with. If you can find inspiration from there, go with it. And I love, how you've run with it, and now you're celebrating it. Congratulations to you, and thanks to your wonderful lady there. Your transformation. Everybody wants to have that transformation, but not everybody actually achieves those things. There are certain traits. I know some of them, but I would love for you to share what you did differently, which you think helped you to transition from a place where you were in one industry and went on into another industry in a relatively short period of time and make it there. What sort of things were you doing on a regular basis?
And with change, there's usually some sort of risk, but there's also fear of the unknown. And no matter what, you think of it this way, there's gonna be risk no matter what. So when it comes to following your dreams, it's like, yeah, there's a risk if you chase your dreams, but there's also a risk if you don't, because what happens if you don't? Is it if you fail to chase your dreams, it's guaranteed that you don't achieve them. If you take the risk, the worst case scenario, you fail, but you know that you tried everything that you possibly could. If you're dedicated, usually what ends up happening is you find alternate paths until you catch the groove that works for you. That's essentially what business is. There's a certain amount of trial and error in that. But I generally say that you have to believe in yourself. But one step better than that, if you can't believe in yourself yet, find somebody who's already doing what it is that you're looking to do. And as long as you believe that they believe it, and they tell you, here's what you need to do to follow through and accomplish this goal, you don't even need to believe in yourself just to get started. You have to believe that the process is a system and that it's duplicatable, and that if this person can do it, I'm sure I can do it too. And so one step at a time, one day at a time.
Yeah, and keep going. Never quit. Whatever happens, keep going. Let's talk about some of the stumbling blocks that you face along the way. What were some of major stumbling blocks and how you overcame them?
Yeah, so one of them, like I said before, was believing in myself. I had to, work on some affirmations that helped me through that process. Part of it was the fact that I didn't know how to communicate with people. I was frankly introverted, shy, maybe a little bit awkward. So I had to learn how to speak in public. I took a Dale Carnegie public speaking course that helped me work through some of those challenges. And then I was faced with some sort of political turmoil early in the business too. I live in a big small town We're 230,000 people here in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan, and I think there's close to 600 agents in our industry. So within our industry here in town, it's a bit of a small town. Everybody kind of knows everybody, and so when I first started in the business, like I said, I didn't really have the attire. I didn't have the feel for it. I maybe wasn't the coolest kid at the company, and I didn't sell a house for 6 months. A lot of people were making fun of me, saying, "Oh, this kid's never going to make it," and all these different kind of things. And then all of a sudden, I had this breakthrough, and I was selling, a high volume of real estate. I was a top producer on a regular basis, and so I was so dedicated and focused on working hard and following the system that I didn't slow down and stop to develop enough quality friendships with my peers at the company. And because I was earning business that they weren't earning, that they maybe felt entitled to, there was sort of, to say it nicely, I was asked to leave the company, which is kind of unheard of in real estate. But that's also what inspired me to take a closer look at the traditional real estate company style business model to see what was wrong with it and how I could help provide a better solution to the marketplace. Yeah. And so I learned in that process that I probably could have carried myself better. I probably could have played my cards better, but that hard lesson, man, it broke my heart. It honestly did. But it's probably one of the biggest blessings that I've ever had. And so that's the way I look at things. You either win or you learn. And no matter how hard the lesson is, there's always something to be learned from it. And that's the only way to grow. There's no going backwards.
Absolutely not. I love what you say there, because it gives hope to a lot of people who may be starting out in a completely different industry, that it's okay to have this learning curve. And once you learn and you're diligent, you keep going and you keep observing what is happening and implementing what is working in others, and trust the process, you too will get success, because success always leaves clue. We all know that. And you stay the path. Let's help some agents right now that may be in the industry right now, and they're finding it difficult, to break into where they've got this, breakthrough that you had. What sort of areas should they be focusing on?
If you track your numbers, you'll start to see patterns. And once you start to see those patterns, you finally realize that you are 100% in control of your destiny. So what that essentially means is, sales 101, prospects equals appointments equals money, and that's really simple. I mean, if you talk to people, you'll generate leads. If you follow up those leads, you'll go on appointments. If you learn how to present, you'll win, and you'll get the deal on those appointments, and then you'll follow through and you'll eventually get paid. And so if you know how many people you need to talk to in order to go on how many appointments, and how many appointments you need to go on in order to do a deal, then essentially, even if you don't have any money in your bank account, you don't have any leads, you know that if I have a certain amount of conversations, depending on how long it takes me to have those conversations, I'm going to get paid X amount of dollars in X amount of time. And then you can afford to invest your time in different areas of the business. You can say, I'm going to work on my business. I'm going to work in my business. Actually, I can afford to hire somebody now, and on from there. But it all starts with tracking your numbers and improving your skills.
Amazing. And where does events comes into this?
Yeah, so essentially where events comes into this is it's a great opportunity to network and grow your organization as on the brokerage side, because it's the ability to communicate with people in person and to present your ideas. But in essence, it's essentially taking your ability to present and doing it in large scale. The same applies for social media. It's like, in the 1980s, you would have had to pick up the phone the old-fashioned way, and talk to people. And it would have taken you a lot longer than just simply doing a podcast like this or doing a video. But back then you still could do in-person events. And I still think that today is the most powerful way to communicate with people. So you could even do something such as host a client event, invite your entire sphere of influence to come out for a client event. You could do a home buyer, a home seller seminar. You could do a financial literacy workshop. You could do, recruiting seminars for your company. You could also do business building masterminds. You could do marketing masterminds, top producer masterminds with other agents as well. And so I've been traveling to do all these different things, as well as industry mixers. You could invite all the insurance people, all the mortgage people, all the real estate people in your community, all the investment style people in your community, and get together. You could host real estate investment seminars, and the list goes on. It really depends on what your goals are. But events is something I think that just adds fuel to the fire. And it's something that definitely can help you essentially talk to a whole lot more people at once. You think of it, if you're going to get 50 people in a room and you're going to be the one with the microphone, that's 1 hour, let's say, that you're doing a talk, compared to how long would it take you to go on 50 appointments one-on-one?
That's right.
And so once you leverage your time, obviously your influence and your compensation goes with it.
Amazing. So for those who are looking to start doing events, I know you looked at Dale Carnegie's training. In your opinion, having done this and seeing a lot of results, where should they start? And they want to do it faster. Point them in the right direction.
Interesting. I love that you said do it faster, because there's two sides to this coin. Number one, do it faster means start before you're ready. But do it faster also means be patient, because doing it faster doesn't mean that there's a shortcut, right? Like, I've been doing this for 10 years and I built it from scratch, and only now I'm finally just barely starting to scratch the surface to see true exponential growth in my business. I'm finally at the cusp now where the next 5 years to 10 years is going to be, it's hard to even be able to put it in words. Like I'm at the cusp of something that is very, very exciting. It's beautiful. It's really cool to see. But my point is, you have to put in the work. You have to lay the foundation. You have to work on your skills. You have to do there's no shortcut to success is what I'm trying to get at. And it's kind of like, it really doesn't matter how long it takes. What matters is you're making progress. And I guess, yeah, you have to enjoy the process. You have to enjoy the journey. That's why it's important to track your numbers and track your results so that you can make modifications, but just know that it could easily take a long time. So don't worry too much on getting it done fast. I would say get into action faster is probably the most important thing.
I love that. Get action faster. Awesome.
Yeah.
As we are coming toward the end of our time here together, Chris, knowing what you know about, running a business over the last 10 years, what would you do differently if we were to start all over again, based on what you know are the success points in your journey?
It's interesting. What would I do differently in today's landscape, or what would I do differently if I was to go back?
If you were to go back.
If I started all over again, knowing what I know now, all I know for sure is I would spend my time more wisely, because that's something that we can never get more of. And because I know what I know now, the time that I did spend would get significantly better results. But I think that I would follow the same path. I would just maybe get better results, but I would focus, I would say, on discipline, income producing activities. Focus on what's important, because if you're not working on productive activities while you're at work, then as an entrepreneur, that's going to start eating into your family time. And at the end of the day, that's what's most important.
That's right. In the real estate industry, what are those areas you would focus on?
Lead generation. And I would say hosting events. I would probably start hosting events sooner. I would start going to networking events sooner. Making cold calls is great. I think it's essential. I think it's an important part of learning sales. But I also think that hosting events and doing public speaking and going to networking events is something that really builds equity and relationships in your business. And that's the lifeblood of the industry. So I would just take action more often and sooner with public speaking.
Absolutely amazing. Thank you. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. Well, Chris, we are coming toward the end of our time here, and I know there will be people who wants to learn more and maybe connect with you, especially around the United Kingdom, maybe explore working with you personally. Where can they find you or connect with you?
Yeah, 100%. So if you are in the real estate business, or if you know of anybody that is in the real estate business, eXp Realty is actually expanding into the UK already. If you're not familiar with our business model, I'd be happy to hop on a call with you to share a little bit more information with you about it. You can follow me on Instagram, or you can find me on YouTube, where I can share a little bit more information with you about it. But essentially, eXp Realty is a global platform that allows you to develop residual income without being a real estate broker, without taking on the risk, the liabilities, the trust accounts, the issues, the complaints, the overhead of a traditional real estate company. Because at the end of the day, even successful real estate brokers who attract and recruit agents, they cannot offer the same opportunity to the agents that they bring on board. Whereas eXp, we really do solve that problem. And in real estate, there really is no exit strategy. There really is no retirement plan. And so we solve the problem that new real estate agents don't even know that they have. And we solve the problem that successful real estate agents have been looking for in this industry for decades. So I'd be happy to have those conversations with you. I look forward to seeing you out there in the online space. And it would be really great to make a trip out there at some point. To see you guys in person, and maybe we'll host an event out in the UK at some point in the not too distant future.
Well, if you want to host events, you can count on us. We would love to have you here, and we can do things together for sure. Indeed. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to know more and connect with Chris, there will be a link at the bottom of this recording. So you will be able to just click on there, be taken to Chris' social medias, and then you can connect with him directly from there. Any final thoughts from a fellow entrepreneur to another?
I would say thank you for tuning in today. Have a productive day. Have a productive week. And I hope to see you very soon.
Indeed. There you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Chris, they're helping you discover, the importance of events, and also talking about what life was like before the journey in real estate. And if you've got any question, feel free to shoot those questions in our community. In fact, our community is live and well, and there's a lot of things happening in the community. Just ask questions in there, or just go straight to Chris's website and social medias, and you'll be able to get the assistance that you want. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, live well, live with passion. Know that the best is truly, truly yet to come. Goodbye for now. Thanks again, Chris, for being on the show.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Yeukai Business Show. We will be back to bring you more episodes with success stories and advice straight from the experts. Want more? Check out www.yukaibusinessshow.com. Get your free trial of our virtual assistant service today. Just visit www.worldoutsourcingsolutions.com. Quote WOS18, or send us an email at support@worldoutsourcingsolutions.com.